Welcome to another exciting episode of Business Beyond Borders with the Luxembourg Mind. Today, we are at Amazon's European headquarters right here in Luxembourg. We will be talking to Jorrit van der Meulen, the VP of Amazon's EU stores. Jorrit has been with Amazon for over 2 decades, and he's also been with Amazon Luxembourg for the last 12 years, during which time Amazon has grown to become one of Luxembourg's largest employers. All of that aside, Jorrit is an incredible speaker, charming and charismatic. Come see for yourself. Hello, Jorrit.
How are you?
Not bad at all. Yourself?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Since I launched the podcast, I've had so many requests to have Amazon on here, so I'm delighted that you're here. Delighted that we're having this conversation. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad I can represent Amazon.
Super. Since you joined Amazon in Luxembourg in 2011, we've witnessed a big increase in our local presence to where today we are one of the local largest employers.
Yeah.
Could you walk us through the path that we took to get here and maybe highlight some of the milestones along the way?
Sure. You mentioned 2011 when I got here, but in 2011, there were already 300 employees. In fact, just a little bit ago, we have this meeting, as you know, kind of what we call our all hands meeting, where we bring everybody together, and we just celebrated our 20th year here in Luxembourg. So I've been here for 12, but Amazon has been here for 20. And I'd say just in the time that I've been here, like I said, we started with 300. We at that point we had moved from the Grün to Clausen. We have been steadily kind of growing our footprint of people, and have now kind of clustered ourselves here in a very kind of extensive campus in Kirchberg. So, and there's been a lot of great milestones kind of along the way. I think I run our European retail business, our stores business, and we launched Prime in Luxembourg, which is fantastic. So now all the people who live here can get 1-day service on
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of items, which is awesome. Seeing that come about. And then we've had a bunch of different milestones along the way. We just recently had our CEO out here visiting us. As you said, I think we have over 4,200. I think we have about 4,250 employees in Luxembourg now, which, as you said, kind of make us the second largest
Yes.
employer
Yes.
in Luxembourg today. So, slowly but surely, we've really kind of increased our presence and our commitment to Luxembourg over that time period.
It's been such an incredible journey.
It's been great. Yeah.
I suppose these journeys it's not always linear. There are going to be ups and downs. Can I
Yeah.
ask you to talk to us about some of the obstacles that we might have faced and how you tackled them?
Sure. Well, if you go back, when you're smaller and when you're kind of establishing yourselves, and when your presence is smaller, just attracting people to Luxembourg is and was kind of a challenge. And I think if you think about attracting senior leaders, especially to Luxembourg, which is what we spend a lot of our time doing, is we try to bring high judgment, big leaders, which ultimately built big teams in Luxembourg, and convincing them and their families to come
Yeah.
is sometimes difficult. It was made a lot more difficult by the fact that up until recently, Luxembourg didn't offer spousal visas,
Yes.
which we pushed for many, many years. And I think it was in April last year. I'm not exactly sure, but we finally crossed that hurdle, and Luxembourg now supports spousal visas, which has made it a lot easier.
Yes.
But so that's one of the things, which is kind of attracting people. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about, just you asked about challenges. We were kind of emerging from one of our biggest challenges we had with COVID-19.
Yes.
And I'd just say, maybe talk about that on two fronts. One is on our side, once COVID hit, we mobilized pretty quickly as an
We did.
organization. We
Yeah.
put in a lot of safety measures to try to keep our employees safe because initially we were still all coming back to the office, and so we put in, temperature screening and a variety of other things, and that was just here in Luxembourg,
Yes.
But like as you think about all of the fulfillment centers that we had that had to keep operating. The number of safety measures we were able to put in like super quickly was really impressive. And then we kind of closed down the offices and everybody moved home. And accommodating that shift, was another kind of, massive challenge that we all went through. And then I would say on the other side, like if I think about the way that Luxembourg, as a country responded to COVID, it was like, were you here during COVID?
I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it was super impressive. Like,
Very impressive, yeah.
the testing that they put together and how rapidly they did it, and how we used to go to all our different places, and sometimes
True.
you get a nose, sometimes you
True.
get a throat. They
True.
send you something in the mail, and so I'd say that was a big one. And then I'd just say, kind of overall at Amazon, like, if you have a career at Amazon, you have, any number of challenges kind of throughout your career. I always talk about, some of my personal ones where, we say, as you invent, you have to accept the fact that you're going to fail at times when you invent. And unless you're an organization that celebrates and accepts failure, you'll never be an organization that is able to invent. And we do celebrate failure. And I've had like a couple, pretty monstrous ones at Amazon that I've been personally responsible for. And kind of the point that I've made to people is that we've learned, and I've learned from those failures. And in fact, I think that those failures and my ability to fail has helped my career. Where in most cases, like, in many companies, like if you fail, like that ends your career. It doesn't like promote your career. So like I could bore you with any number of details on that too.
I guess it also comes down to culture. We have a culture that does celebrate failure, that does
Yeah.
help you use that as a learning pedestal to actually rise up and do better.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing about failure is like if you fail at something and don't learn from it, then it's a true failure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so what we have a really good culture of is, allowing people to fail, learning from that, trying not to repeat the same failure again, but to continue to push and kind of, through that you step change kind of everything you're doing. And it's worked well for us kind of over the years.
And I've seen this firsthand in my experiences. We are very, very willing to take risks in a bid to have impact.
Have you failed yet?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
But
You'll know when you fail, believe me.
I think I will. You made
And you
some
should. Make sure you do.
you made some very interesting points about the talent pool, which I'm going to put a pin on. We're going to come back to the way
Okay.
we attract talent.
Sure.
About COVID, I think that was. I think we did really, really well. I think, firstly, Luxembourg did really well in the way we responded, but I think
Yeah.
Amazon really helped. When it comes to deliveries, when it comes to Amazon Prime, there
Yeah.
are a lot of ways in
Yeah.
which we help make the situation better.
It was a hard thing to balance. Like we had increased demand and we had fewer and fewer employees in the actual fulfillment centers because we had social distancing, and so
Yeah.
you had to become really efficient really quickly.
Yeah.
All the while with your very first priority is making sure that your employees stay safe. But we were, I was very proud of the way that both Luxembourg and Amazon kind of responded to that challenge for sure.
We did well.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to double click on the conversation we're having. Try to go into a daily routine for you. What's a typical day like in the life of Jorrit?
Well, I can assure you that there is no typical day. We have this saying at Amazon that it's day one, and every day is day one. Kind of as we think about the opportunities to help customers kind of ahead of us. We're so early kind of in our journey still, and we want to kind of foster that mindset of it's day one. And because it's day one, there's no day that is the same as any other. But like, I just say like, in general, like this is the way my day goes. I I get up at 6 every morning. I do about an hour and a half of exercise, some form of exercise. I either, kind of depending on the season, it's either running or biking. I get to work, probably around 9. As soon as I entered the door, until noon, I am on back to back to back, meetings or calls or, other things, where my calendar is pretty darn packed. And then my assistant helps me by blocking out from 12 until 1 for me, which means 15 minutes of that is spent kind of responding to those emails that I haven't responded to that I absolutely need to respond to. 24 minutes of it is a meditation that I do. I know it's 24 minutes because it's timed, and I usually set an alarm for 27 because I fall asleep a lot of times. So it's either a nap or a meditation, and then I'm ready to go again at 1 o'clock. I have a coffee and then I go. And at about 3 o'clock, as you know, the U.S. wakes up. And you basically start another day at like 3 o'clock. And so then it's kind of up to me to manage like when my day ends. Like it could easily end at 10 every day, but I try to kind of make sure I have some work-life harmony. And I usually close it down around 7. But that's a day in my life.
That sounds very productive.
It works for me. So
I saw on your profile that you mentioned that you're trying to be more mindful.
Yeah.
And I guess the meditation helps in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
It helps. It just helps me kind of, check things. I also, I get to work on my e-bike, and so I have like, a 15 to 20 minute commute, which allows me to kind of clear my mind as well clear my mind from work as I go home, spend time with the family, and get ready for work as I'm coming to work. But it works for me.
Okay. I'm going to transition the conversation now into a little bit of your relationship with Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Having lived here for 12 years, you've seen the country develop.
Yeah.
How has the experience been for you? How has your integration in Luxembourg been? And
It's, I think I'm one of like many of these expats who, we came to Luxembourg for a 2-year assignment, and we promised our kids it was only going to be 2 years. And I've been here for 12 years now, and I don't have any intention of leaving. So on a personal front, it's been really good. It's been really fantastic. And then I would just say, like Luxembourg has changed a lot over those 12 years. Like we didn't have a tram. Now we have a tram system. And 10 years from now, that tram is going to be even more developed than it is today. Anybody I bring to Luxembourg, I always kind of show them Cloche d'Or, where when I got here in Cloche d'Or, that was farmland. Other than the PwC building, like everything else was farmland. And then maybe 5 years later, there were like 30 or 40 cranes that were there. And then now you have Cloche d'Or. And then I would just say, like, if you look around and kind of just listen to, if you just listen as you walk around kind of the center of town on a weekend, like it's so much more diverse today than it was 12 years ago. And you just hear so many different languages, and you see so many different people, and they're not all tourists. They actually live here, so it's like it's really become a lot more vibrant in that way as well. Like,
do you see yourself 12 years from now in Luxembourg?
It's a really good question. It's one that my wife and I always ask ourselves, but I just bought a house 12 years later, so that should tell you that we're pretty committed, and I love it, so I'm pretty committed.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
We spoke about how Luxembourg has grown so rapidly.
Yeah.
What strengths do you think Luxembourg has demonstrated in these years, and what should we leverage to increase its viability as a hub for business, to attract more talent, to attract more investments?
I think that over the time, Luxembourg has been really responsive and really kind of proactive in developing a kind of business-centric community that is attractive to corporations to bring senior leaders and families and people in. And so, like, one example I'd give you is that for many years we struggled with finding place for the children of senior leaders, especially in schools in Luxembourg that were, English speaking or international. When we got here, there was ISL in St. George, and there were only a couple spots every year. And there's been a very concerted effort to kind of increase that capacity, which is a good thing. There's been a lot of work done kind of on housing and making sure that it's available and affordable. And I think that again, just speaking about Luxembourg, like I remember when Prime Minister Vattel came to one of our all hands and spoke, and he kind of talked about the journey of Luxembourg over time and how they've reinvented themselves so many times. And I was listening to him and going, okay, it's so fascinating because it's just like, it's so much the way that we think too, your ability to kind of cannibalize your existing business or think of new businesses and kind of think about like what's going to be the reality years from now. And I feel like Luxembourg they've gone from farming to radio to now space. You said you were going to talk to the CEO of the space exploration. Like, okay, crazy, And so they've done a lot of really good things there. Now I'd say that there's still work to do. And if I think about things going forward, I mentioned housing, and housing is kind of it's a little bit double-edged. Like there's more housing and it's available, but we do still struggle with a lot of anecdotes of our people who are coming from abroad, where there's bias of landlords and not wanting to rent to them, which is super problematic, and that's got to be rooted out and fixed for sure. And then I'd say that in the spirit of working with the companies that are here, Luxembourg also has a responsibility to make sure that they understand kind of what we need, and kind of that there's a reciprocal and two-way kind of conversation, because we have some very specific needs that we need represented, and I kind of rely on Luxembourg to kind of advocate for those in the forums where they can.
Can we go deeper into that? Because that's also my next question. I was going to ask you what the path forward is for Amazon in Luxembourg, and in the same vein of what you were saying, what can Lux do to help Amazon grow more?
Yeah. Well, I think that we're pretty happy here, but as you would expect, like we make business decisions, and so we are continually analyzing our options and our European footprint and where we want to kind of continue to invest and where we think it would be best to invest. So far, like as from 300 to 4,000, like a lot of that has been here in Luxembourg. But there's a few things that are really important to us, like as we think about Europe kind of overall. One is, we're very strong advocates of a single market. We think it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
We work with over 275,000 small and medium enterprises. These are small businesses that want to sell their goods kind of throughout Europe. And until there's a single market, like it's really difficult for them, like, to setting up different VAT IDs, setting up, dealing with all the different kind of regulatory compliance on, packaging and goods and sustainability is like really, really difficult. And so we're strong advocates of a single market. And then we're also really strong advocates of, regulatory certainty and a level playing field. And, there's been trends kind of in the opposite direction. So, these are two things and two areas like where I expect Luxembourg to advocate on our behalf as well. Like I said, in all of the different forums that they participate in, because they're critically important to us.
Okay, that's a very nuanced answer. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to also talk about what Amazon's been doing for Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Amazon's been involved in a lot of grassroots level activities,
Yeah.
a lot of giving back. Can you walk us through some of these things that we've been doing and our motivations to do so?
Sure. Well, we have like what we call affinity groups, like Women's at Amazon or the Black Employee Network. And I think we have about 13 of them now that operate really in two ways. One is in a way to kind of help our existing employees come together and feel part of a group and be able to kind of share experiences and help us improve and get better. And then to also reach out into the community for like-minded folks to kind of get perspectives from different companies. Like I've been fairly involved in the Black Employee Network, and we kind of every year do a pretty big symposium. And to their credit, they were able to even do this kind of during COVID, where they get different people together from different companies to talk about kind of shared vision, shared needs, shared experiences to kind of help not only Amazon but the different companies and the communities kind of improve in that way. And so they're very kind of active in that. And I can't remember the specifics of it, but I know that we've done a couple different things with the University of Luxembourg as well on kind of like engineering programs and
Okay.
and AWS efforts
Okay.
and so like why do we do it? Well, like a lot of it is we definitely feel like with our scale we brings kind of social responsibility, and so it's our responsibility to do some of this, but more so, it creates a better environment for our employees and kind of, I think, for the community kind of in general. And if we can kind of help foster that a little bit, it makes Luxembourg more attractive, it makes Amazon more attractive, it helps retain the employees, it helps attract employees. So there's a lot of goodness that kind of comes out of it.
That is so cool. I feel like in our efforts, what we have also done is we've brought in so many such high caliber talent to Luxembourg, and
Yeah.
it's created a multiplier effect of sorts, because a lot of really top talent comes in here, then they go work for other companies, and
Yeah.
it just helps the country grow as a whole.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
it's
I think
incredible.
I think that's really happened. It's kind of like what I said. One of the things like that has really changed kind of over the 12 years that I've been here, is like that international community has really kind of
Yeah.
grown,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
once it starts to grow, it kind of snowballs on itself. And so I think we're setting the groundwork for lots of goodness there.
And I think Amazon's played a significant part in helping that transition.
I think so. I hope so.
Cool. I'm now going to move us to the fun segment, the rapid fire round.
The rapid fire round. Okay.
I'm going to present you with a couple of options, and I'm going to ask you
Okay.
to pick one at the spur of the moment, just based on what you
No
feel.
right answer.
No right answer. No
Okay.
wrong answer.
Great.
All right. You've been here for 12 years.
Yeah.
What would you prefer, living in the vibrant city or living in a serene, calm village?
Are we saying the vibrant city of Luxembourg or the vibrant
The city center.
Yeah, I live in city center. I just bought a house in city center. I'm pretty happy in city center.
Okay, fantastic. Our offices, we had a pretty significant presence in Clausen, and
Yeah.
now we have a vibrant presence in Kirchberg.
Yeah.
Clausen versus Kirchberg.
That's a tough one. I'm going to have to go with Kirchberg because that's where my people are now, and I want to be by my people. But Clausen was really fantastic, and I used to walk through the Petrus every day, and
Yeah.
like you'd see
Yeah.
all these beautiful, like it was just a beautiful setting and a beautiful scenery,
It was,
and
yeah.
so Clausen was also good, but now it wasn't big enough for us to kind of set up our campus, and so I'm gonna go with Kirchberg.
Great. I'm going to put you in a hypothetical situation now.
Yeah.
You're stuck on an island with just one internet-enabled device. Alexa or Kindle?
Yeah, I'm old school. I'm going Kindle.
Okay. Yeah, we read a lot.
Yeah.
All right. You have worked a bit in Seattle. You've
Yeah.
lived in Luxembourg for a while, and presumably you also travel to
Yeah.
Seattle quite often.
Yeah.
Cities. Seattle versus Luxembourg.
Okay, that's like choosing your children. We're making our future here in Luxembourg, but I've got a lot of passion for Seattle. But I'm going to say Luxembourg.
Excellent. We're happy to hear that. I'm going to move now to Amazon Prime Video Originals. I don't know if you watch the shows. Rings of Power versus Wheel of Time.
I'm probably one of the few people. My kids have watched it. I haven't watched it. So I'm not going to choose one of those, but I will recommend you to watch Fleabag.
Someone also
Fantastic.
recommended it to me just last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's super good. It's
Good.
super good.
I will put it on my
Super
watch list.
entertaining. Yeah.
Cool. Last question for the rapid fire round, and I'm going to put you in a bit of a spot here.
Yeah.
I know you went to Harvard for your MBA,
Yeah.
and having lived in Luxembourg for the last 12 years, you probably worked with some INSEAD MBAs. So I'm going to ask you, who do you prefer working with, a Harvard MBA or INSEAD MBA? And just to put you on a bit of a spot, I'm going to also give you a disclaimer. I went to INSEAD.
You went to INSEAD. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that in the course of my 12 years here and 20 years at Amazon, I have never asked or never known what MBA program anybody had, and I didn't really care. So I think that I'd be happy to work with you.
I'm glad to hear that. This brings us to our final segment. It's
Yeah.
my favorite segment. It's the advice segment.
Oh,
We're going to go back to what we spoke about earlier about the talent pool here.
yeah.
Amazon has done a very, very good job of bringing top talent here, and I've seen this myself. The colleagues that I work with,
You're an example of it. What are you talking about? Like,
Thank you. The colleagues that I have, they have such a high desire to have an impact. They have a
Yeah.
bias for action. What advice would you give other firms looking to attract top talent here? How has Amazon done such a good job?
I'll tell you, far be it for me to give advice, but I'll tell you, what we talk about a lot of times with top talent is, a lot of it is we're selling the opportunity that we have, and so from our European headquarters, we have very big, very strategic roles that span not Luxembourg only, but kind of all of the rest of Europe. And Luxembourg is a pretty fantastic place in order to do that from, not only just because it's just so centrally located, but it's it's set up to do that well. And then we spend a lot of time just talking about Luxembourg kind of in general. And like I said, I've been here through many stages of my life. We came when our kids were young.
Yep.
And they ended up growing up here, and it's so if you have senior leaders, a lot of times they have families as well, and so talking about kind of Luxembourg from a family standpoint and the things that there are to do is fantastic. I'm very outdoorsy, as I mentioned, kind of with my biking and running and
Yep.
stuff like that. And it's like I could go on for hours about how fantastic Luxembourg
Yep.
is there. And then I'd say, for the size of the city, like it has really grown up a lot in terms of like cultural activities.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
there's a lot of amazing programs and shows and things that come through Luxembourg.
Yeah.
And I'd say, our restaurant scene kind of has gone up massively over
Yes.
the last 12 years. That's been really effective for us, for especially the more senior the leader.
That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
Can I ask you for a 30-second elevator pitch for international talent that's trying to look for their next move? What sales pitch would you make to them?
Well, I'd spend a lot of time talking about the opportunity here at Amazon, and then I'd kind of very quickly go through a number of those things that I just mentioned.
They're all very, very good selling points and highlight what makes Luxembourg so attractive.
Yeah.
Jorrit, this has been a pleasure. Such a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so
I
much.
did too. Thank you so much. Thanks for making the time.